The trailer for Resident Evil 4 Remake has just been released, and naturally I cannot possibly go to sleep until I've commented on it and done a quick little video of my initial thoughts and feelings towards it. Otherwise, I know that when I wake up I will have hundreds of comments and messages from people asking me what my thoughts are. So here are my quick thoughts in a brief video. Just my initial thoughts, not scripted or planned out in any way. This is just me rambling, and yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing that I have to say is it does look promising. I'm pleasantly surprised by the trailer, and by the looks of things, it's definitely seems to be gearing more towards the horror aspect than anything else, which would make sense. Resident Evil 4 is often blamed as being the reason the action Resident Evil started and became the downfall of the series. So bringing the remake more towards horror would be a way of correcting that mistake, as it were. However, it does mean that probably some of the wackier elements of the original might be lost in this remake, and hopefully it doesn't suffer for that, because the wacky moments in the original actually kind of helped it, because it showed that Resident Evil 4 knew what it was, didn't take itself too seriously, and just made it more enjoyable. Because it wasn't trying to be super deadly serious all the time. Whereas this remake's looking like it may very well be going down that route. So hopefully that doesn't end up being detrimental to the game. So, as for the graphics and the redesigns, I have to say they look absolutely fantastic. This game looks beautiful. I love the redesigned areas from the original game, like the village and the church. Very recognizable still, which shows that the original designs haven't been changed too much. They've just been updated to look a bit more real and a bit more modern. The character redesigns, I mean, we saw Luis, we saw Ada, we saw Vitores Mendez, and we've seen a couple of the Ganado, and we've seen Sadler. So we know they're all in it, and they're looking interesting, especially the Ganado. The Ganado look absolutely terrifying in this trailer, and so they should. We also got a hint to Del Lago, so sorry to all the speedrunners, but Del Lago is going to be in the remake. Your suffering will continue into the new age. So as for other things, let's see, as I say, it looks beautiful. The redesigns look fantastic. Also, even Leon and Ashley are looking great. So, as I say, definitely aesthetically, this looks like a very beautiful game. Looks like it's going to be very pleasing on the eyes. I have seen some people say that it gives them Resident Evil 8 vibes, and that would make sense, because Resident Evil 8 at the end of the day was what you would get if Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 4 had a child together. And I do remember saying in my Resident Evil 8 playthrough livestream that Resident Evil 8 is probably how a Resident Evil 4 remake would feel and look. And so if people are making the connection to how it feels atmospherically or aesthetically, then I guess I was right. As for now, the big question, what's the content of the game going to be like? What things are going to have been cut? What things have been added? Is the gameplay going to be better? Is the story going to be better? Or is this going to go the way of Resident Evil 3 Remake and be a disappointing reimagining which doesn't do the original justice? I'm certainly hoping not. Personally, I think if this game is to succeed in the way that I assume Capcom would want it to, and the fans definitely want it to, it needs to take a page out of the book of the original remake for Resident Evil 1, because that was a complete graphical improvement of the original game, but also they added new content. So we had like the Crimson Heads, Lisa Trevor, etc. And in general, that game improved not only the things that were bad about the original Resident Evil, but they also improved the things that were good. So it was just a general improvement in every aspect of that game, and while still staying as close to the original as possible, but not too close, because old players that played the original Resident Evil 1 still got a little lost and a little bamboozled in Resident Evil Remake, because they made sure to change a few things just to keep new players guessing. So that's what they will have to do for Resident Evil 4 Remake if I am to be impressed by it. Another aspect of that is if our movement is going to be improved upon the original, which I assume it will be, because modern gamers do not like tank controls. They do not like the idea of having to think before you shoot. Then the enemy AI in movement will also need to be improved upon, because as much as I would say that the VR port of Resident Evil 4 is the best version of the game, it has unfortunately highlighted that enemies designed around tank controls become a bit of a joke when you have freedom of movement to the extent that VR allows, such as being able to shoot and run at the same time. So the remake will have to make the enemy AI far more clever and aggressive if they're going to present the player with the same kind of challenge that that first village fight did for players back when the original was released. So I would be expecting coordinated enemies, much like, I suppose, like the Combine from Half-Life 2, but obviously smarter and more efficient than their AI, as it is rather dated now, despite how good it still is. So those are the main things for me, that it needs to be an overall improvement, the AI needs to be improved upon, and mechanically there are some things that should be improved upon in the game, and we need new content, so maybe more Lewis content and things like that. Just expand the game, make it better, make it bigger, make the story richer. Let's not cut things out for the sake of it, unless it's to improve the game in a way that original players would appreciate. That's what I'm hoping they can do for this. We'll just have to see closer to release how it's looking, and obviously when it is released, we'll have to play it and find out. But I'm hoping that this will be what everybody has been hoping it will be, and isn't going to be the biggest disappointment, because if Capcom drop the ball on this, there will be no coming back from that. The fan base will never forgive them. But anyway, I have rambled on quite enough. It is almost 3 in the morning here. I will do a more in-depth video on my thoughts. I may even do a live stream discussing it with others and discussing it with the viewers. So I'll try and do that this week. But in the meantime, I turn it over to you in the comment section. What do you think about the trailer? What do you think about the redesigns? What are you most hyped for in the remake? What are you most looking forward to? What are you hoping that they will have changed? And what are you hoping stays the same? Let me know the answer to these questions and all your other thoughts in the comments below, and let's get that discussion started.